can't hear you because you're not speaking loud enough there. You're not enunciating either. Come on. Not in a hurry anymore. What's the left?
I scoured the town for them today. We were sold out last time. 4 or 5 I had today.
The third. Time warp here. No, someone else told me.
Third, yeah, third.
Well, not unless you speak loud enough for me to hear. Come on. Gertrude Allen. I don't know. I'm maybe I'm getting different. But I'm funny. On the other side of the table, they whisper in their heart. You know, oh man, I think they're...
I've had that for about 30 years, you know, I got that. Yeah. So yellow. I used to teach it.
Is that a particular favourite of yours?
Yeah, especially the one on Burroughs' work. Yeah, it's on Burroughs' work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it goes on. Naked lunch is natural to us. We eat reality sandwiches.
Oh, yeah, sure. Did you ever think you'd meet the author?
Well, sort of. I missed them last year.
Yeah.
Just, I heard he might come back next year. Talking to Mrs. Kenny in Kenny's bookshop. She said he was talking about coming back. So
here it is.
Yeah.
What did you think of the reading?
I enjoyed it now, but I thought he could have read a couple more poems.
Yeah, it's a bit short, is it?
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to be going for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So can't argue really with that.
There you are now.
More.
You have to stand to one side, to this side.
Yeah, I can see. Where are you from? You were down in Paris and got this?
Yeah, I got it from Shakespeare.
Yeah. We gave a reading here in December. What's your name?
Cat.
What?
Nally. And the other boy.
What do you do for
Student of studying English.
English and what else? English and what else? Just English?
English philosophy.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, UCD.
What philosophy do you read?
We do broad spectrum, really.
You get Heraclitus? Socratic?
Yeah, a bit, like, not much, really.
The most interesting.
Just kind of introduction overview. It's fun.
Jimmy Allen.
Are you from here originally?
Yeah.
Galway?
Just after it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. much.
Find the book. No.
Hi.
Hi. Oh. Yes. Yep. What's the last name? Simple.
Bob Dylan for that. Did you ever see the film Ronaldo and Clara?
Yeah.
It's been withdrawn, I believe.
Well, it was so badly received in America
Yeah.
that Dylan withdrew it temporarily. You know, till there would be
Appreciated.
a time.
Personally, it's one of my inspiring documentaries.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, me too.
I like it because they got a nice big role in it.
You did, yeah. Your haircut
Yeah,
scene is
for
particularly
The
memorable.
fourth largest, I think. And he had a very, very nice intention trying to present me to his audience,
Yeah?
very consciously.
Yeah, he did. I thought it did work. And Tibetan Buddhism also came through with all the rock and rollers chanting
Kevin.
out. Is there any chance of getting that video?
I don't have it. Be it.
Yeah. Got a couple there
For you?
for myself, yeah. Myself and my wife, Ellen.
What's your wife's name?
Ellen.
Both. We'll show you GH.
Can you tell me what collection of poems Death to Van Gogh's Ear is in?
It's Kaddish, I think.
Kaddish.
But it's in collected poems.
All right.
There we are. Thank you very much for being so patient with me. That was really...
This is for Ursula.
For whom?
Ursula Clark.
Ursula Nark?
Clark. C-L-A-R-K. C-L-A-R-K. Last night.
Well, you missed a big night tonight.
Yeah,
I thought it got better and better.
Yeah. Are you heading down to Atlanta?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, okay.
25 years ago.
Hi.
Hi.
What a nice introduction.
Very cool. I bought your present for the interview the other day.
What interview?
In Paris a few years ago.
The what? Wow.
Now this one's broken slightly. A crop.
Yeah.
In a rush one.
But you know, I don't smoke that much.
No. You know, that's anyway.
Who made all these?
It was handmade.
Is there any ash in them?
No.
Because I can't
Now you
look
go,
through the border.
you can get through customs, alright?
How do you know? No, there's ashes in there. Look at me, man. You have no idea. They've tried to get me any number of times.
I thought they'd sort of leave you alone.
No way. No, I'm afraid I'm much too paranoid to carry these around.
Okay, I'll get a few some of them. I'll bring it up.
They'll actually, I get trip searched, even.
Still?
Not so often, but there's the old...
The other thing...
From 1965 on.
Well, I'll smoke it and I'll think of you every time. I know you're a friend of Hunter S. Thompson's.
Yeah.
This is band and manager. Now, our record company is called Hunter S. Records.
Oh.
So I thought you might let him know
Okay.
that we exist.
Yeah, well, you sent it to him.
I sent it to him at the Rolling Stone. I'm not sure if he got it.
Neither there or in this care of Aspen. Where is it? Where is it?
Aspen, Half Colorado.
Woody Aspen?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Say Woody Creek. You got a company?
Yeah.
Do you put out local music?
And it's a local band, yes.
Uh-huh. That's nice. Got any other Irish music?
That's right.
Okay.
For tonight.
Okay, Alan?
Yeah. I guess we'll go to the Atlantic?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
From Street Corner Productions.
Uh-huh.
You met Mark the other day. Mark Kennedy. He met you in the States.
From where?
We were talking about civil liberties and
Oh, yeah.
that sort of thing, yeah.
Right.
Maybe we'll meet you down in Atlanta.
Yep.
Do you want to bring this all right?
Let's see. The books I've got. The big book was returned to owner.
We're making a film called Goddess Town.
So, we'll go with that.
We need to get these tables out.
Redolent of the Galway new big wave of destruction.
Which building?
This building in here, the cut stone is still left, as you can see, and it has this rather low wood effect. It used to be an asylum for gentlefolk when I was a child, when I lived down here. And as children, we used to come and stand outside to hear the screams and the travail of people in there. And it left an indelible impression on me. You know, it's as though I sort of became a voyeur emotionally in some way. How are you enjoying Galway?
No, but what was the... what happened to the building?
Well, it fell into disuse because genteel people disappeared from Galway, as far as I know.
We were genteel mad people, but what happened to older people now? Where do they go? What sort of asylum do they have now?
Ballinasloe, which is on a par about with Bellevue Hospital in New York.
Bellevue is not so bad now.
Well, I'm happy to hear it, Alan. Were you ever in there?
Oh, yeah.
Were you?
Many times.
Where are you visiting?
My mother visiting, other people visiting, Peter Orlovsky visiting...
Oh, marvelous.
Oh, God, any number of people.
But you were in there as a visitor, I hope.
Yeah. Well, I spent 8 months as an inpatient.
Did you?
In another hospital, much earlier, 1948, yeah.
Did you?
So I had a good time. I was glad I
Oh, wonderful. But you've always been such a wonderful...
met interesting people.
Yeah.
You know, since I wasn't really in a bad state,
Yeah.
I was able to use it as a rest hotel and write a lot of poetry.
Splendid, splendid. Well, when I met you...
Carl Solomon there.
Yes, yes. When I met you in 1974, you were at the height of what I would call, if I may, your rant period.
I don't know, that's correct.
Is it?
Just before I was writing, no, I had begun a lot of Buddhist meditation.
Yes, that's true. And when I saw you at the Troubadour...
I think you're stereotyping me there.
No, I'm not, Ellen. I don't mean to do that at all.
Troubadour, I was singing All the Hills Echo, I remember.
Well, what image do you think that younger people have of you now?
Well, I hope I've mixed up images. I don't know what I am. What am I supposed to do? One fixed image?
Splendid, splendid. I was talking to the little receptionist in the hotel today, Catherine.
The young girl?
Yes. And I asked her if she knew who you were.
Oh, please.
Do you know what I mean?
You could spare me that.
Well, give me a break, Alan.
Really spare me that.
You have a public persona.
You're being irritating.
Sorry, Alan.
Because you're being irritating. It's like, you know, when they say don't point, it's bad manners.
I'm I'm afraid of you. That's
No, fuck you. You're not afraid of me. You're taking advantage of me.
I'm sorry.
You're taking advantage of me to talk about yourself on the camera.
All right.
And talk about me with stereotypes on top of that. So now, what is your actual social business?
My actual social business
Excuse for talking to me with that.
My
You have your reason.
Well, all right.
Your appropriate reason
Okay.
was that you're doing some work documenting police abuse or documenting
That's right.
civil liberties.
That's right.
So what sort of thing is that?
Well, for instance, we have in this country the travelers. You've heard about them, have
Yes,
you?
I know.
All right.
I've been reading about them.
Sorry?
I've been reading about them.
Good.
Well,
Well,
it's a very interesting name compared to the gypsies that they use in other countries.
Hiya, Mark.
yes. Hi, how are you?
More
Hi.
dignified.
Yes. In any event, this is a documentary which we made, Horselands, and we, Niall Hughes and I, are...
Niall's the one on camera?
Niall Hughes, yes. Sorry, Niall. We are unemployed people.
Yeah.
Well, we are unwaged, but we are busily employed with this work. Now, I don't know what impression you've gotten of Galway,
I
but
like that.
you do. But
So far.
yes. Well, I wonder if you've seen, you know, the Galway that we are struggling to alter.
No, I haven't.
Well,
So
there's
what
a
part
new-
of town is that? Or what
Well,
area or aspect?
This area is Hillside, it's called, where the traveler people live. 400 families, or 400 persons who have one faucet for cold water, up to their ankles in mud, etc., etc. Rats and what have
Are
you.
they forced there by the state?
So, well, no, they're not actually forced there by the state. They are a separate cultural entity.
Yeah.
They insist on their nomadic rights.
Yes.
What the
So that makes
authorities
sense.
are saying is break up the clans, disperse them throughout settled neighborhoods, so to speak, which means break up the culture.
Yeah, I've seen some argument about that in the newspaper.
Yes.
As being an imposition of
They're trying to establish.
majority culture on the minority culture. And the minority culture has long virtues stretching back centuries.
Yes.
Of coherence and adhesiveness and
Yes.
family values.
Yes.
They're actually trying to establish that they are a separate ethnic culture.
Well, they obviously are.
But they have to establish it in fact before they get any kind of recognition as a separate people. Otherwise, they're not accorded any special status. you
I
know.
hereby accord them any special status I've empowered to accord them.
Thank you.
Well, can we
But
empower you?
I'm not
with-
very much of a
Yeah.
powered type.
Well,
Well, and, this-
we also need mention to you before you leave this country
Yeah.
that in July of last year there was a Public Order Act passed which made it possible for any policeman who didn't like the looks of you or me gathered here having a conversation. We are for. The law states that if the policeman, in his opinion, thinks that we are engaged in conversation which might, repeat, might, later lead to a breach of public order, we can take all four of us down there.
Yeah, they have a new law. They're trying to put a law in America like that.
Yes.
But Britain has no constitution. Fortunately, we got one.
Yes. Yes.
So that there's some, maybe some prohibition, except that the Supreme Court now is so right-wing, you never know who's going to turn
Yes. I know.
So the only way out of that, as far as I know, is some kind of coherent, non-aggressive,
Yes.
cheerful,
Yes.
resistance.
public. Resistance is already beaten.
It's already been done.
No. It already implies defeat.
Been defeated.
There's got to be a more
Street
energetic,
theater out.
any gesture taken in anxiety. Well, you want to put words in my mouth, man?
No, don't.
Great.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I say any gesture taken in anxiety creates more anxiety. Any gesture taken in anger creates more anger. Any gesture taken in aggressively creates counter-aggression. Any gesture taken in calm and equanimity creates calm and equanimity. Lucidity creates lucidity. So what lucid form is there of appealing to others except poetry?
The moment
Well,
we're trying film and music.
Film and music, I think, but you have to do it without,
Rancor.
rancor. Exactly.
Was there a
I want to go in and enjoy myself.
All right.
Thanks for that statement.
Yes.
Alan.
Yeah.
If I offended you, I'm glad, because
No,
at least I got
I
to.
just talked to you.
Thank you, Alan. Will you take Horselands as a gift? It's an American edition. Thank you. Well, we had Mr. Allen Ginsberg at last in the heat of the hunt. Now, I don't know what anybody else expected, but I know I don't know what I expected. But my memory of Ginsberg is that he was in a rant phase. I don't care what he said. And he was playing at the Troubadour Hotel, and not the hotel, but the nightclub on Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles. I strolled in there by accident one night, and just for you celebrity lovers, it was the nightclub in Hollywood that had the distinction of barring John Lennon. So I went in. I'd never seen Ginsberg before. I'd read a great deal about him. I'd read about his influence on the Berrigan brothers, the two Jesuits who were active in the Catonsville Nine. And I don't need to go through all that history. But he, to me, was, to use a literary word, seminal. I mean, he's always talking about seamen anyway. And he was a man who greatly impressed me because he's the polar opposite to myself. He is at that time was a burlesquing street theater lunatic hooked on the ecstasy of the 60s. And I don't mean the pill, I mean the ecstasy of the awakening of that time. Now, whereas Ginsberg, who is a man of probably 12 years older than myself, he must be approaching
69.
Or whatever
Exactly
he is.
12.
Whatever he is. He made me angry. I might counterattack him, but I
You
don't
made
think-
him angry.
He's a bit too fucking cozy for my liking anyway.
Moments, yeah,
How dare he correct me in that manner and accuse me of trying to fuck with his head. Anyway, that aside, he was, to me, the embodiment of everything that was brave and free of careerism and self-interest. He took risks that very few men would take. And any man who rushes into the Chicago police, who at that time were rioting in 1967 at the Rubin trials and all the rest of it, any man who rushes in with nothing to offer but his moral outrage and anger is a brave man, regardless of what he might be otherwise. Now, what I'm trying to lead up to here is that I was living a completely different life to him. I was on a remote island by myself, trying to live the Zen life. And, you know, I'll waltz him around Buddha in a minute if he puts me to it. But I won't. I have to be nice. Now, my immediate reaction was, if he walks away from me and leaves me here, I'll attack him in no uncertain terms on the business of his approval of homosexuality with minors. By the grace of God, and presumably Buddha, he had the grace to take me by the arm and take me after him. Now, the positive thing he did was that he forced me not to ask him cliché questions.
This is tonight now, yeah?
No, when did I fuck
We
it?
started off talking about
Ah,
1970 bloody four.
Now, the story I was going to tell him, and I'm going to tell him here, was this. Well, I went into that hotel today, and the young girl inside the thing was a very sweet child, no more than 16, you know, child slave like they have in these places. And I said to her, she gave me another note that was for Allen Ginsberg because she thought I was Allen Ginsberg. Now, that was the first thing. The second thing was, I told her I'm not Allen Ginsberg, I want to leave a note for him, which I left. And just as a matter of course, I said to her, do you know who he is? I said, no, I don't. There's a lot of messages for him. And I said, well, he's a hippie. He used to be the king of the hippies. You know, just like that. She said, was he? I said, yeah, he was. She said, you mean all that flower? I said, yeah, that thing. And she lit up like a Christmas tree, man. And she said, gee, I didn't know that. Now, she knew about the Enlightenment movement of the 60s. She knew about the awakening of the 60s. And I wanted to know if she did, because she's only about 15. And whether he likes it or not, Ginsberg is an iconic name.